Okay. Oh, Baruch atah Adonai melech haolam v'shachar v'orei.
Amen.
L'chaim v'racha. A good yontiv to everybody. Today Aleph Nisan, the Rebbe's birthday. His birthday is our birthday. So, in honor of the birthday, okay. Uh, okay. So, continuing with the mimer. I choose the king. So, as we explained, the is it? Oh, okay, hold on 1 second. Sorry. There we go. Okay. You see me on YouTube because I don't see on the screen over here. Get the wrong screen.
Yes, you're on YouTube.
Okay. Thank you. Alrighty. So this set we choose the king. That we want the essence of God as opposed to the revelations of God. Giluim, as it's called in Chassidus. Which means the experience. Human condition is that we want to experience. We want to experience feeling connected. We want to experience goodness, exaltedness. We want the experience, right? And the Alter Rebbe said, I don't want your Ganina, I don't want your Olam Haba, I just want you. Meaning, in the other things, there's me having an experience. Wanting the king is beyond experience. It's for the connection itself. Now, we explained earlier that, see, 1 second. So we explained that the simple meaning of choosing God is not choosing idolatry. That's the way it was explained. Here we're explaining a much more refined and lofty ideal. Choosing God and not choosing God's revelatory, lofty experience. You know, that's not idolatry exactly. All right. So how do the two come together? So the Rebbe says they come together in that wanting the experience means there's me there. Means I'm not really nullified. I'm looking to fill me with godliness, with God's presence, with God's goodness. Now, obviously, that's something better than to fill yourself with, you know, sitter acher and the negative side, obviously. But when the foundation is to fill me, then what can evolve or devolve from that, right, is ultimately idolatry. That's what can ultimately come out of that. It's possible. It doesn't have to be that way, but they're really both share the same idea. One is fill me with God experience, right? That the soul feels its connection, that I feel my connection, I feel my uplifting and exaltedness. Excuse me. And and that's what motivates me. So since I have that mitzias, I remain a mitzias, I remain a thing outside of of just wanting to be connected to God, wanting to do what God needs and wants from me. So then I don't make it about me. Yeah. So if I do make it about me, like giving something a value outside of the core essence of God, right? It's sort of like in a human relationship, I want your kindness. I want your compassion, right? Here we're saying, no, I want you. Why would I want someone's kindness and compassion? Because that's what I need from them. That's what I need from them, which is human, which is normal, right? But that's then it's about me. Then my relationship with you is based on what I need. So there's me, the Mitzias, right? And most human relationships are like that. All relationships are like that until we come to these teachings here and saying, no, no, I'm choosing God, not because I need his kindness, choosing him because he's God. When I don't do that, so then I'm choosing him. I'm making myself the center. And as long as I am a mitzias, I am a something. And so I mean, so then it's possible then it could come to ultimately that, oh, idolatry in that I want the more in life. So here it's more of God, but then it can devolve that I want more of, materiality. I want more comfort. I want more fame. I want more, whatever it might be, right? Yeah. So is it egotistic to pray to God to know the truth? No. Asking God for, to know the truth, see the truth. No, that's good. That was a question from Tricia. To add to this, further. Now, that I choose the king, that there's nothing else in heaven but you, God, right? That's what we want. Now, what is idolatry? Is something is the axe that's in the hands of the wood chopper, right? Meaning, um, the constellations, the sun and the moon, are only mediums of God, right? That are completely nullified to God. They have no will of their own. They have nothing of their own. They're just tools of God that he uses in creation, right? So idolatry is the idea of making a mistake that the tool becomes the main thing, right? So the axe becomes the axe to grind with, right? Becomes the main focus. The means becomes an end, where the means is only a means to an end, right? The axe is only right in the hands of the wood chopper. So the a means to an end, and that comes from the external will of God, right? God's external will is, you've probably heard from me about chasing the bus, right? A means to an end, right? You chase the bus to get on the bus. You get on the bus so you could go to work. You go to work so you could get a paycheck, right? Those are all a means to an end. What do you need the paycheck for? To feed your family. Why do you want to feed your family? Hopefully, it's because it's your family, period. Not a means to an end. It's your family, right? It's your family, right? So it's an end in itself, your family, your loved ones. And then, so the acts is a means to an end. Those who serve idolatry, they come from the external will of God. And that's why they seek means to an end. Am Yisrael, the Jewish people, come from the internal will of God. That's an end in itself, and therefore they seek that which is an end in itself, not a means to an end. They seek God not as a means to any end, but as an end in itself. You choose the king because you choose the king. Not because the king is going to not because the king is going to do something for me, but the king is the king. God is God, and I want God. Why? Just because, right? Not because of the cost. I made a cost benefit, uh, spreadsheet, because that's all it means to an end. The pros and the cons, which is normal, which is human, which every human being does. But the Jewish soul is connected to the internal will of God. That's an end in itself, not a means to an end. So it's connected not in order so it can have, but it can be connected. Therefore, the Jewish people have a recognition that the axe is only a means to an end, that all of creation is only a means to an end, and not, not that the means becomes an end. Therefore, we only serve God. I choose God. I choose the king. Now, even though it comes from beyond logic, that choice, but it filters into rationale and logic. So what we explain is logical, but it comes from beyond logic, from the soul, but filters into why? Because since the soul comes from the internal will of God, internal will of God means it has to be internalized. And internalized means it has to seep into our mind, because that's an internal part of who we are, the mind and the heart, right? Our understanding and so it has to be drawn into that. Um, in other words, in a understanding, grasping this idea that we just explained. With that, we conclude. Bejontif to everybody. Yud Aleph Nisan, the Rebbe's birthday. I will going soon to the Ohel, putting in prayers for everybody.
Thank you for being there on our behalf.
God bless. I will be doing the classes. I will still be doing the classes afterwards. So we'll, God willing, for Chumash.